So this week's parenthood PowerPoint was an easy one for me because I'm a parent. I've actually been a parent longer than I haven't been a parent in my life, if that makes sense. I became a mom at 18, and my son is going to be 21 this year. So I don't know what life is like without having kids. Pretty much, I don't know what adulthood is like. So I didn't have the opportunity, actually have the opportunity now to go out and, do things instead of making the mistakes that some people do in their 20s before they have kids. So I kind of have the advantage backwards. But anyway, here's my take on whether or not to have a child or to have a child now. I had mine, 20 years ago, so it's a bit different. Now I now have 3 sons. I'm a single mom with 3 sons. But there are advantages and disadvantages, and people really should weigh them, before having kids. It's a big decision. So my first slide, why should you? Why should you have a child? It's a big decision, and many people wait until later in life because of these reasons. Some to certify attainment of adulthood. Sometimes when it's an automatic thing in social society where, you don't become an adult till you become a parent, and you kind of don't grow up. Kids do. It's not a cliche. Kids do actually make you grow up, so it is a good thing. Personal identity, they want to be known as a parent. Many of your friends are becoming parents. Your parents became parents at a certain age, and maybe you just feel like it's your time. You feel that calling. You feel that, you just want that in your life, and that's okay. That's a perfectly natural feeling. So many people have that. To have a sense of purpose. Sometimes when you're on your own, day in and day out, people have dogs, but it's not really the same thing. It's not really the same thing as being a parent and having someone who can emotionally, give and take with you, conversation, give and take, someone that you actually see yourself in, to have a sense of purpose, to raise somebody and to make somebody else whole, and for them to make you feel whole as well, like you've done something great with your life. A sense of commitment. Parenting is a commitment. Sometimes when you feel you don't have any direction, you don't feel stable, sometimes bringing a child kind of grounds you. Family. Everyone wants a family. Everyone wants a social support system. Nobody wants to go home alone. Most people don't want to go home alone. And having that sense of family and a bunch of people around you, and always having entertainment and always having someone to talk to you and someone that's there for you. Just a physical presence in the house as well is very important. Why should you not? Kids are expensive. They are a huge commitment. Some people don't want that commitment. Some people would rather go out, be with their friends, and do their thing for the rest of their lives and date and not have to be stuck, with a significant other the rest of their lives, and that's okay. Parenting isn't meant for everybody. The cost is ridiculous. However, it depends on what you spend your money on. Kids don't need the most expensive daycare. That's what grandparents and, sharing of daycare and care.com, some workplaces have, daycare and things like that. So it's what you spend your money on, not exactly how much the kids actually cost. Personal endeavors, travel. Can't really travel as much until the kid's a little bit older. Sometimes you have to let go of a lot of personal trips on your own. You have a family now, things change. Career. Sometimes your career has to slow down. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes it's okay to slow your career down and focus on other things. Money isn't everything. Sometimes the emotional support that having a child brings, it outweighs any kind of career advancement. Time and loss of financial benefits. Sometimes you can't go out and do those side hustles, those side gigs. It does take time away from your personal life to go and do other financial endeavors. However, sometimes when children come into your lives, they give you money-making ideas. So that can be a give and take. So a change in trends compared with, the past 1 or 2 generations. And today, back then to be a stay-at-home mom was, it was kind of a status thing. Now, not so much. Now it's kind of seen as you're not really pulling your weight in the family, and that sucks because some women want to be homemakers. Some feel that that's their job, to be the CEO of the house, and I did that for 5 years when my kids were very young, from 18 to 23. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was glad I stayed home with my kids However, it was not self-fulfilling. It drove me absolutely crazy. I felt unproductive. I felt useless. I felt like I didn't have anything going for myself, and the kids drove me crazy. So it's not for everybody, but some women do indulge in it and feel it's their niche, and kudos to them. Back then, the goal was to marry young. You marry your kids off young, they go out and have more kids, they work on the farm. You know, your kids didn't stay in the house after 16, 17, 18 years old. They went off and started their own families. Multiple children, to have multiple children was a big deal. Back then, people needed them to, you know, tend to the house, and, you know, they were actually a financial benefit to have them work around the house, because you were able to do more on your farm and make more money, or, you know, go out and get jobs and contribute to the household. And today, you just can't do that. Child labor laws, can't do it. Can't do it. People who live on farms, back then, it was, you know, 70, 80% of people worked on farms 2-3 generations ago. You know, my mom grew up on a farm. However, today, no one lives on a farm anymore. Farms have machines. So you don't need to do that anymore. People without children are sometimes seen as failures. Why don't you have kids? When are you going to have kids? It's kind of a sign back then that, you know, you weren't fertile, you weren't worth anything, and women had a hard time getting married or keeping husbands if they weren't able to have kids. It's really horrible. But today, you know, people are more minimalist. They don't need as much done. They don't need as many things. They don't need as much money to survive. So a minimalism aspect, you know, allows people to have kids easier sometimes. You know, today a lot of people are career focused, and especially women, and sometimes they can feel like there's jobs insecurity of having too many children, so some women will, you know, push it off. Fertility options to start later, that's actually why a lot of women are putting it off. I can always do it. I can always do IVF. If something happens, I can always adopt. So a lot of women are deciding to put it off because of that. Today kids are actually a financial liability. They're expensive. However, that's for people who see kids as, oh, we have to pay for college. Oh, we have to pay for daycare. We have to pay for this. There are other ways. I paid for my own college. My child, I'm helping 2 of my kids a little bit with college with dorms. Otherwise, they got scholarships. There are things that you can do to where you don't have to pay for college. And sometimes starting a business, sometimes going to college isn't the best idea. So you really have to weigh your benefits, you know, and choose what's best for your family. There's absolutely no reason anybody should be paying $100,000 for their kids to go to college. They need to get jobs. Do it themselves. Do it themselves. A lot of us did it ourselves. They need to earn it on their own. People without kids are seen as driven. Yeah, there might be driven career-wise, yes, but that's not everything. You know, people sometimes, you know, oh, they're 30, 35, oh, they don't have kids because they're concerned about their career. That's perfectly fine. But you can be driven in your personal life and your professional life as well. You can do both. You can have it all. And it's very possible. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. So parenting these days, the advantages that you have to actually, I have, of course, my oldest is 20, but I have 2 teenagers, 2, 18 and 13. And there are a lot of advantages to having kids these days. The open-mindedness of society and the family fluidity of our conversations, our mixed families, blended families, mixed race and blended. Quoting that correctly. The open-mindedness of it all. It's so much easier to come together and everybody just get along. The different, gay families, lesbian families. I'm actually going to be a surrogate for a gay man, and I'm actually gonna have the embryo transplant next Thursday. So we're actually extending our family, not biologically, but we're actually helping produce another family. So, the family fluidity of bringing extended people in, it's just not being blood family. It is an amazing way of raising children these days, and it's so accepted that there's more love to share all the way around. There is a lot of technology to find your children. You can track them anywhere. I do. Tax write-offs. Oh gosh, it's so great to have tax write-offs, especially when they start going to college, and I'm in college, so they do have their benefits if you do make a lot of money. Flexible work schedules. A lot of companies really do embrace the parenting lifestyle now. You have different daycares at the actual work site. You can work from home, as everybody has this past year. I hope they're taking advantage. Also, you have social value. You get a different social circle. When you have parents, you can support each other, and you really, really get a lot of support when you have children from other parents, because they get it. Then they take care of you when you're old. hopefully. So elderly care for parents, you can always move in with your kids. Taking my mom, take yours too. The disadvantages of parenting, there are a lot of costs. But like I said, if you maintain those costs, if you're really smart about what you're spending money on, what do your kids really need, you have to be smart about it, and you have to cover your own butt. Social media pressure can be hard for kids. Take them off of it. They don't have to have it. They don't. Minimalize it. Monitor their phones, things like that. People don't do that enough. You might have a less spontaneous lifestyle. You might not be able to just go to dinner at the drop of a hat because you got to get twins dressed. That might be a hot mess. Order in. There are other things that you can do. Scheduling, that's a disadvantage. It's really hard to set a schedule with a kid. You never know what's going to happen. But, if you're used to being spontaneous, use that. Loss of a certain social crowd, that's okay. You'll get rid of the drunks. You'll be fine. But you do have to hang out with new people. One big thing about a disadvantage is I've had a lot of friends who have had postpartum depression, and it goes away after the first few years, but that's something these days that they really didn't notice back then, but it's treatable now. So even though it's a disadvantage that depression is really high rising right now, and stress of children and the financial pressure and everything, that there's a lot of help. So become a parent. It's a great thing. Or a dog mom if you don't want kids. Either works. Here are my references here. Thank you.